Hi, my name is Natalie and I represent Auditradley, an accounting firm that is a member of an international network of accountants and lawyers. I would like to tell you about the wonderful tax benefits that Israel offers new immigrants and returning residents. The tax benefits are so wide-reaching that after viewing this video, you might call Israel a tax haven, as many professionals have called it before. If you're living abroad or have just returned to Israel, please take a minute to contact us and receive some professional advice. It is very important to consult with a professional. This will guarantee you get most out of the tax benefits and will not pay taxes in the country you intend on leaving. So now let's talk about who is entitled to these tax benefits. New immigrants and returning residents in Israel are entitled to these tax benefits. All returning residents receive some tax benefits, but veteran returning residents, and these are Israeli residents who have lived abroad for more than 10 years, receive huge tax benefits. So what are these benefits? First of all, we've got the exemption from inheritance tax. In 2012, Israel continues to offer an exemption from inheritance tax. This tax is what heirs pay over their inherited estate when their parents come to pass away. Usually this is about 25%, and in Israel this law has been cancelled and has not been renewed since the 1980s. So this means that elderly Jews who emigrate to Israel can guarantee that their heirs will not be taxed on their inheritance. For example, in England, a person must pay between 20 and 40% inheritance tax, and in the USA, this is between 18 and 35%. In Israel, such a tax does not exist. Another important tax benefit that was legislated in 2009 is a 10-year full tax exemption on a foreign income for new immigrants and veteran returning residents who came to Israel after 2007. This means that a person receives tax exemption over interest, dividends, salary, pension, rent, and is exempt from corporate tax, capital gains tax, and many more likewise tax exemptions. Furthermore, the law does not impose a limit on the amount of income that a person may earn free of tax. So you can earn as much as you want and you don't pay tax over it. This means that if a new immigrant has an annual income of $5 million a year, after 10 years, that person will have earned $15 million and will not have paid tax on any of it. So now let me give you some practical examples of how this tax benefit actually is applied. Say we've got Betty, and she owns 3 houses in England, and she decides to emigrate to Israel. And after 5 years, she decides to sell her 3 houses in England. She will enjoy full tax exemption over her profit. Any other Israeli resident or citizen would have to pay 25% capital gain tax, and a British citizen would have to pay like 20% capital gain tax. Betty doesn't have to pay anything. Another example is Adam. Adam is a returning resident who has lived in the Netherlands for more than 10 years, which automatically makes him a veteran returning resident. And in the Netherlands, he established a successful clothing business that generates about $10,000 a month. And when Adam returns to Israel, he's exempt from paying taxes over his foreign income for the next 10 years, which amounts to about $1.2 million over a period of 10 years, and he doesn't pay any taxes over that income. Any other Israeli resident or citizen would have paid 40% tax over that amount. The last example is that of Alma. Alma is a new immigrant from Russia. In Russia, she has savings that bear interest and are index linked, and her annual interest amounts to about 200,000 shekels a year. And unlike other Israeli citizens, Alma will not have to pay any tax over her interest or her savings. Now, let me say that this law is very complicated, but the bottom line is very simple. Any income from abroad, no matter how big, is exempt from tax for 10 years. It is important to mention that the tax legislation is so dynamic that the professionals in the field as well as the governmental clerks are flabbergasted and are still adjusting to the amendments in the legislation. So now let's talk about the tax scheme that really is like the gift from heaven, the optimal combination of tax benefits. This combination of tax benefits applies mostly to the elderly population that live abroad and their heirs. The elderly population that decides to emigrate or return to Israel profit in the following way. First, they accumulate wealth from the income, and secondly, they accumulate wealth from a 10-year tax exemption over their income. And when they come to pass away, their heirs profit even more in the following way. They receive all the incomes, they receive all the accumulated wealth that was accumulated from the 10-year tax exemption, and they are exempted from paying inheritance tax over all the capital and assets that are registered in Israel. So now that you know what approximately the tax benefits are in Israel for new immigrants and returning residents, I would like to say that it really is, I'm going to emphasize this once more, it's really important to consult with a professional who can verify the conditions of the double taxation treaty between your country and Israel in order to avoid paying double taxes in both countries. Auditradley represents clients in Israel and abroad and is a member of IGAL, an international group of accountants and lawyers that provide services all over the world. If this topic is relevant for you and you're thinking of moving to Israel, we invite you to contact us through the email provided on the screen. You will receive a free initial consultation, and we guarantee professional and experienced service that will smooth your transition to Israel. We hope to see you here soon.